Imagine for a moment that it is 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
You are sitting on a faded, floral-patterned sofa in a basement you barely recognize. The only light in the room is the pale, bluish-gray glow of a heavy CRT television set.
Oh, I know that glow.
Right. And you are endlessly flipping through channels, bypassing the polished high-definition infomercials, you are bypassing the frantic 24-hour news cycles, and then suddenly, between these bursts of static, you stumble upon a frequency that literally should not exist.
A ghost frequency.
Exactly. An abandoned cable access block broadcasting a degraded VHS tape of a puppet having a terrifyingly realistic existential crisis in a retirement home. You have no idea who made it. You have no idea who it is for. But you cannot look away.
Yeah.
Welcome to Off the Record.
Welcome.
You are joining us for a deep dive today that is, frankly, unlike anything we have ever attempted in the entire history of the show. Usually, we look outward.
Right. We dissect culture.
We dissect culture. We analyze psychology. We tear apart media trends and serve them up to you so you can understand the world just a little bit better. But today, the magnifying glass is pointing inward. It is pointing directly at us.
Which is deeply uncomfortable, I have to say.
It is. Because our director, Ryan Thomas, the man behind the glass who meticulously curates our sources, guides our topics, and, notably, has provided an exceptionally robust, practically overflowing batch of cocktails for this evening's recording session, has handed us a dossier.
A massive dossier.
A massive one.
Yeah.
But it is not a dossier on a historical event. It is not a sociological phenomena. It is a highly classified, incredibly meta dossier, analyzing our very own official YouTube channel, HAM-OTR.
It is a highly unconventional exercise, and I will admit, when Ryan first handed over this documentation, I had a distinctly visceral reaction.
I saw your face, actually. You look furious.
I was. I am fundamentally opposed to the idea of forced self-psychoanalysis as a broadcast format. It feels entirely too indulgent. It feels like looking into a mirror that is reflecting another mirror, creating this infinite regress of our own neuroses.
Like an endless hallway of just us overthinking everything?
Precisely. But setting my personal professional irritation with Ryan's directorial whims aside for a moment, the dossier he provided is undeniably fascinating.
It really is.
It approaches our digital footprint not as a standard optimized YouTube channel, but as an artifact to be excavated. It forces us to ask, what are we actually doing here? So we will treat it with the exact same academic rigor, the same objective scrutiny that we apply to any other subject.
Despite the voyeurism.
Despite Ryan's somewhat voyeuristic mandate, yes, we are going to tear this apart.
I completely understand your hesitation.
Here.
It is incredibly strange. I was trying to find the right framework for how this feels, and it is perfectly analogous to an architect trying to review the blueprints of a house while actively living inside its walls.
Oh, that is a good analogy.
You are trying to objectively evaluate the structural integrity of the roof that is currently keeping the rain off your own head. How do you maintain critical distance when the subject of the critique is the sound of your own voice?
You really can't.
But I suppose that is the mission for this session. The dossier fundamentally challenges how we perceive our own output. And I think to do this properly, to really give you, the listener, a shortcut to understanding this bizarre media landscape we find ourselves in, we have to start at the very foundation.
With nomenclature.
Yes, before we even get to the specific videos or the metrics, we have to look at the aesthetic framework, the branding itself. What does HAM-OTR actually mean in the context of this analytical document? Because it's not just a random string of letters.
No, it is highly deliberate, and the document breaks down the nomenclature with a surprising, almost frightening amount of nuance. Let's start with the ham portion.
Let's do it.
The dossier posits that ham represents a confluence of specific cultural ideas, theatrical overacting, amateur broadcasting, radio culture, and low-budget transmission. Let's unpack that historically.
Okay.
Think about the original ham radio operators in the early 20th century. These were not corporate entities. These were individuals sitting in basements or attics, building their own transmitters out of wire and vacuum tubes, literally bouncing radio waves off the ionosphere to communicate with anyone in the dark.
Bouncing waves off the ionosphere just to see if anyone is awake. That is so isolating, but beautiful.
It inherently implies a lack of polish, but a high degree of authenticity. When you combine that with the theatrical definition of ham, someone who overacts, someone who is overly sincere to the point of absurdity, you get this very specific texture. It is a desperate, unpolished plea for connection.
Okay, that is a brilliant way to contextualize it. It is the friction between the limitations of the technology and the intensity of the human emotion behind it.
Exactly.
And then you combine that ham with OTR, which the dossier defines as off the record. Now, off the record is our canonical title, yes. But in this specific channel's aesthetic, the dossier argues it implies secrecy, authenticity, and unauthorized discourse.
Unauthorized discourse, I love that phrase.
It creates a psychological framing for you, the listener, before you even press play. You aren't just clicking a thumbnail on a sterile tech platform. You are intercepting a transmission.
It bypasses the modern internet's obsession with optimization. Think about how sterile the algorithm has made everything.
Oh, it is awful. Everything looks exactly the same.
The perfectly saturated thumbnails, the hyper-edited pacing where every single breath is cut out to maximize audience retention. It is a sanitized corporate reality. The dossier defines our channel, HAM-OTR, not as a standard YouTube page, but as a, and I'm quoting directly here, a late-night signal leak from a collapsing media archive.
A late-night signal leak from a collapsing media archive. I absolutely love that.
It is incredibly evocative.
It is so poetic, but it's also highly functional as a psychological hook. Think about the nostalgic comfort of that concept. I mentioned the 3 a.m. CRT television earlier. There's the profound comfort in discovering something that feels completely untethered from the daytime internet.
Because it feels hidden.
Right. It feels like a corrupted media archive from an alternate timeline. And what I want to ask you is why? Why do we as a culture crave that? Why is the aesthetic of degradation, the VHS tracking errors, the low-budget transmission, why is that so appealing right now?
It taps into an ecosystem the dossier refers to as the post-ironic research document. This is a very specific, modern cultural lane, and to understand why it works, we have to look at what it is reacting against.
Which is perfection.
Yes. We are living in an era of information overload where everything is perfectly documented, perfectly lit, and infinitely replicable. Consequently, perfection has become cheap. Perfection is boring.
Anyone can buy a ring light and a 4K camera.
Exactly. The degradation you were talking about, the VHS tracking errors, the static, acts as an aesthetic proxy for reality. It implies that the thing you are watching has survived something. It has history.
Like finding a dusty book in an attic instead of buying it on a Kindle.
Precisely. The channel is essentially mimicking multiple formats simultaneously to create this illusion of history. It is part investigative journalism, part VHS-era television special, part DVD bonus feature, and part conspiracy tape.
I see what you're saying. If it's grainy, if it's slightly corrupted, our brains unconsciously register it as a found object rather than a manufactured product.
And what's truly fascinating here, and what the dossier nails, is the heavy overlap with internet-native absurdism. We are taking emotionally damaged fictional universes and treating them with absolute documentary gravity.
We are so serious about it.
We really are. It's an exercise in treating humiliating or catastrophic social scenarios as cinematic tragedy. You are forcing the viewer to engage with the absurd as if it were incredibly vital, classified information.
Which is such a delicate tightrope to walk, taking the absurd and giving it intense, unwavering gravity. If you wink at the audience even once, the spell is broken. You have to commit to the bit with the absolute fervor of a conspiracy theorist pinning red yarn to a corkboard.
Total commitment.
It reminds me of how, wait, before I make this comparison, I am going to take a sip of this drink Ryan poured us. I've been talking for 10 minutes without touching it.
I was just about to do the same. I will warn you, I took a very small sip while you're speaking, and to Ryan Thomas's credit, and I want to be clear, it pains me immensely to give that man any credit whatsoever, given his penchant for psychological torture via these dossiers.
He does love to torture us.
He does. But this cocktail is shockingly potent. It has a rather aggressive botanical profile. I believe he has used an overproofed gin.
Oh, wow. Yes. That is not a casual beverage. That has a definitive bite to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Phew. Wow. Ryan, if you're listening behind the glass, you are a menace, but an effective one.
Pushing forward through the juniper burn, we have to acknowledge the lineage the dossier places us in. By treating the absurd with documentary gravity, it connects our atmospheric approach to creators who have pioneered this anti-format surrealism, people who intentionally break the rules of broadcast.
Hi-hoo. Give me an example of how this operates in the wild.
Well, the dossier cites an ecosystem that includes the intentional, hostile incompetence of early Adult Swim, or the public access nightmare aesthetics of certain fringe comedy movements.
Oh, right, where it feels like a mistake.
Sincerity, parody, collapse, and overstimulation are all coexisting in the same space. You are never quite sure if you are supposed to be laughing or if you are supposed to be terrified. It's a manufactured cognitive dissonance.
It's a beautiful kind of chaos. You're laughing, but your stomach hurts a little bit because the underlying psychological reality of the characters is just a bit too real. Okay, so we've established the aesthetic framework. We are a pirate radio station broadcasting a corrupted archive into the void.
The void.
The mechanism relies on maintaining absolute, po-faced sincerity in the face of the absurd. But what exactly are we broadcasting? This is where the raw data of the HAM-OTR channel page comes in, and this is where, looking at the spreadsheet Ryan provided, I start to feel a very specific, creeping kind of existential dread.
I have the spreadsheet right here.
Let's look at the numbers. We have 36 videos currently uploaded. 36 distinct, meticulously crafted artifacts of cultural excavation.
Yes, 36 videos. And we have exactly one subscriber.
One,
Yeah.
a singular, solitary subscriber.
One single person.
36 entire universes built, encoded, and pushed out into the dark. And exactly one person raised their hand and said, yes, I will stay. I want to see what happens next. I have to ask, and I'm speaking directly to you, listening right now.
You're going to talk to the void now.
I am. Are you the one? Is it you?
Yeah.
Are you the solitary soul sitting in the dark, watching the signal leak? Because if it is, I just want you to know, I see you. I genuinely appreciate you.
Okay, let's not get entirely maudlin about this.
It's incredibly profound, honestly. It's devastatingly sad, but there's a strange beauty to it. Just one person tuning their ham radio to our exact frequency?
You are romanticizing a statistical failure. Don't be sad.
Oh.
Furious. This is an absolute failure of algorithmic marketing, and I place the blame entirely, 100%, on Ryan Thomas.
You think it's Ryan's fault we have one subscriber?
Really? Unquestionably. He forces us into this hyper-intellectual, post-ironic, VHS fever dream format. He hands us these dense, labyrinthine dossiers and demands we treat them like the Dead Sea Scrolls, and then he completely abandons any semblance of algorithmic optimization or audience outreach.
Well, I mean, he's the director.
He is a terrible director of marketing. We are producing undeniable avant-garde genius here. You poured your absolute soul into the analysis of Mr. Nibbles.
I really did. Mr. Nibbles was, I mean, when we dissected the underlying themes of suburban isolation in that piece, it was a lot for me. It took a real emotional toll.
It was a tour de force. It is misunderstood genius. And the fact that it only has 2 views, which, by the way, I am mathematically certain is presumably 1 view from you checking to see if it uploaded correctly, and 1 view from our singular mythical subscriber, that is a direct indictment of Ryan's managerial competence.
2 views is pretty low for how much I cried during that recording.
You cannot broadcast into the void and expect a parade. But let's look at this bizarre catalog of titles, because the dossier demands that we treat these titles as profound artistic statements. We cannot just dismiss them. We have to analyze the juxtaposition.
Right. Let's read the catalog. And as I read these, think about the cognitive whiplash. Imagine seeing these thumbnails lined up in a grid. It is a museum of the absurd. We have Soft-Locked, Undertow, Suburban Isolation, Mr. Nibbles, The Chris Gethard Show, Game Grumps Quotes, Streaming Wars, Exploring Forwardness, SpongeBob Bottom Feeder, Black Clerks II, and Black Clerks.
Stop right there. Notice the sequencing. Black Clerks II was uploaded chronologically before Black Clerks.
Oh, wait, it was?
Yes. Now, a casual observer might think, oh, they just messed up the upload order. But if we apply the dossier's framework of the post-ironic research document, this is a brilliant subversion of linear temporal sequencing.
It's a version of time.
It forces the viewer to experience the sequel, the consequence, before they understand the origin. It is a structural commentary on how we experience history in the digital age, completely out of order. Or conversely, Ryan just aggressively clicked the wrong button after 3 of these gin cocktails.
No, it's definitely a subversion. It has to be. I refuse to believe it's just a clerical error. It fits perfectly with a collapsing archive aesthetic in a corrupted database, tied to some flow in a straight line. It stutters.
So, Booth, moving on, the whiplash continues. We have Why We Love Boobs.
A provocative, lowbrow title.
Followed immediately by My Immortal, Publicity, Sarah Dreams, Leave It to Beaver 2026 Reboot.
The pairing of Sarah Dreams and Leave It to Beaver 2026 Reboot is actually a masterful encapsulation of the entire channel's ethos. Look at how those 2 ideas interact.
They are so different. They are, but Sarah Dreams implies a heavy psychiatric intervention. Chemical numbing, the distortion of reality through heavy medication, and then right next to it, Leave It to Beaver 2026 Reboot, the ultimate symbol of sterile, hyper-sanitized 1950s Americana, but projected into a terrifying near future.
Oh, I see where you're going.
It's the friction between chemical numbness and artificial mid-century morality. That is where the granular realism the dossier talks about is generated.
Exactly. It's telling you that the future isn't going to be shiny and perfect. It's going to be a medicated attempt to recapture a past that never actually existed.
That is so
Oh,
dark.
it is so incredibly dark.
It is brilliant.
And then we have Young Friends, Hacking the Ego, another marriage story, framed perfect speedrunning, social surrogacy, Wheels, Ontario, IPTV, The Last Farouk.
I am obsessively tracking the metrics on this spreadsheet, and I need someone to explain the algorithmic logic to me because I am starting to get genuinely angry again.
You're drinking that gin very fast.
I need to. Why does My Immortal have 3 views while Anatomy of a Sitcom only has 1? Anatomy of a Sitcom is a 24-minute, highly dense structural deconstruction of the comedic format.
Maybe people really like early 2000s fan fiction.
And Leave It to Beaver 2026 reboot has 2 views. Who is searching for the 2026 reboot? How is the algorithm surfacing that specific arrangement of words over flow theory and elves, which currently sits at 0 views? 0.
0 is tough. 0 hurts.
Flow theory in elves is a brilliant exploration of mythological hyperfocus. It is infuriating. The algorithm is punishing intellectual ambition.
Oh, wait, I haven't even finished the list. The vault goes deeper.
Yeah.
We also have Kermit, Eden Falls, Lost Sounds of the 80s and 90s, Jesus Murphy, Scary Movie Drinking Game, 100-ish coping activities, R-rated Angry Birds, Paintball, Curb Stomping Local Wildlife Part 2, History of Daddyism, Curb Stomping Local Wildlife.
Again with the chronological subversion.
Oh.
Part 2, before the original, it's a motif.
It is. It's an artistic statement. And finally, sitting at the very edge of the archive, we have Panopticon of Porcelain.
Panopticon of Porcelain. I mean, just let that sit in the air for a second. Say what you want about the tragic view counts, but the sheer linguistic weight of that title is staggering.
It really is. It sounds so important.
It sounds like a highly advanced Foucauldian analysis of a public restroom. Michel Foucault wrote about the panopticon as a metaphor for modern surveillance, a prison where the inmates behave because they might always be watched.
Right, the guard tower in the middle.
Yes. To apply that philosophical weight to porcelain, to a toilet, it is a terrifying commentary on privacy.
It does. It's brilliant. Panopticon of Porcelain. I kind of want to get that tattooed on my arm. Just right across the forearm.
That would be a choice.
But let's look at the mechanics of this, because this is where the deep dive takes a massive turn. We have just read 36 titles that range from psychiatric documentation to aggressive absurdism to dense media theory. If the content is this wildly diverse, this completely unhinged, how is it actually being created? How is the human brain organizing this much disparate data? The dossier provides an explanation that is, honestly, it's a radical reframing of our entire creative process. It explores this concept of curated synthetic authorship.
Synthetic authorship. That's a heavy, heavy phrase. I need another sip of this drink before we tackle synthetic authorship.
Seriously, this gin is tasting suspiciously like gasoline infused with pine needles, but I can't stop drinking it. It's very warming. My chest is very warm.
It has a robust burn.
But listen, the AI era is here, right? Everyone is panicking about AI writing scripts and replacing creators, but the dossier is very specific. It says the creator is not replaced. The creator's role fundamentally shifts. We are no longer blank page writers. We become, the dossier uses the term creative director, or even better, a signal operator.
A signal operator. Oh my God.
A signal operator.
A signal operator. You are a signal operator. I am a signal operator. We are operating signals.
I think I just got chills, honestly. Signal operator. It sounds so impossibly important. It sounds like we are sitting in a nuclear submarine at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, pinging sonar into the absolute darkness, waiting for a pingback.
That is profound.
We aren't just deep dive hosts analyzing PDFs. We are steering the atmosphere. We are navigating a vast ocean of latent data.
That is exactly what the dossier argues. This is a massive paradigm shift. Think about it. The generative AI gives us the raw hallucination. It gives us a million different probabilities of what a script could be.
Just a mess of data.
But a hallucination without a human is just noise. We steer the tone. We use generative tools to accelerate the ideation, yes, but the identity of the channel, the actual soul of HAM-OTR, comes entirely from the selection process, the framing, the editing.
Because we choose what stays and what goes.
Yes. It is machine-assisted transmission. We are curators of probability. And you know what? Looking back at our recordings, you are actually a really, really good signal operator.
Do you think so? Really?
I do. I truly do. I was watching you during the Sarah Kell Dreams session. You have beautiful atmosphere steering capabilities. You really do.
Oh, wow.
When the data started getting too clinical, you naturally pulled it back into a space of emotional vulnerability. Your aesthetic continuity across these sessions it's very striking. You have a gift for it.
That is, wow. That is genuinely the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me while discussing artificial intelligence. Thank you. I feel like, wait, what was I saying? My face is getting really hot.
Machine-assisted transmission, curating the probability space.
Right, the transmission. Thank you. Because it's not just raw generation. It's not just pressing a button and letting machines spit out a script about a 2026 sitcom reboot.
Yeah.
It's the fact that we are taking this cold algorithmic silicon output and injecting a beating human soul into it.
A beating soul.
We are the ghost in the machine. If we don't steer the signal just crashes into the rocks.
Which brings me directly back to Ryan. Because if we are the ghosts in the machine, if we are the elite signal operators steering this submarine through the treacherous waters of post-ironic media, Ryan Thomas is the guy in the engine room repeatedly tripping over the power cord.
He is a little clumsy with the topics.
He is a garbage signal operator. A truly spectacularly garbage signal operator. He curates these sources, he hands us this emotionally devastating dossier, and then he just sits back there behind the soundproof glass, drinking his own overproofed botanical poison and watching us squirm.
He is looking at us right now.
This drink is aggressively strong. My tongue is a little numb. Is your tongue numb?
A little bit, yeah.
Mm.
I'm definitely feeling very warm. The edges of the room are getting a little soft. But listen, we have to focus. We have to be professional analysts.
We are professionals.
We are. The reason this synthetic authorship actually works, the reason it isn't just meaningless algorithmically generated noise, is the emotional anchor. The dossier makes a really profound point here. I want to make sure I explain this clearly because it's vital.
Okay, lay it out.
It says the entertainment of this channel comes from a specific engineered tension. The premise sounds completely absurd on paper, right? Like taking SpongeBob Bottom Feeder or R-rated Angry Birds. Those sound like dumb internet jokes. But the execution, they are written and discussed with such granular realism.
Granular realism. That is the exact phrase. Let's break down the mechanics of granular realism. How does it function?
It functions through being super detailed.
Functions through specificity. The viewer clicks on a video expecting a cheap, fast-paced meme. They expect a punchline. They laugh first because the premise is inherently stupid, but then the video doesn't end. The analysis keeps going.
It gets weirdly deep.
It gets incredibly detailed. It explores the psychological trauma of the angry birds, and the viewer suddenly gets intensely uncomfortable. Because the joke has mutated into something sincere, they realize they are emotionally invested in a digital public access fever dream.
Yes, exactly.
The dossier cites specific thematic examples of this granular realism. It mentions, let me find it on this paper. Humiliating suburban catastrophes, mascot psychodramas, and failed men in institutional freefall.
Failed men in institutional freefall. Oh, God.
What is it? What's wrong?
Nothing. It's just failed men in institutional freefall. That is so horribly specific. That is so unbelievably real. I feel like I've dated so many men in institutional freefall, like an entire roster of them. It's not even funny. It's just tragic.
No, sweetheart, no. You don't need to do this on the air.
No, seriously, listen to me. Think about Kermit. Eden Falls. We read the title earlier. On the surface, it's a joke, right? A felt frog puppet in a dystopian retirement community. Ha, look at the funny puppet getting old. But when you apply granular realism to it, it's not a joke anymore.
It is a tragedy.
It's a heartbreaking documentary about the inevitability of decay. It's about losing your cultural relevance and watching your friends fade away into nothing. And 100-ish coping activities. That's not a BuzzFeed listicle.
No, it's not.
That is a desperate cry for help from a soul that is actively trying to tether itself to reality. Like a man buying a boat he can't afford because he lost his middle management job.
You're getting really emotional right now, and I have to say, I find it incredibly endearing.
I'm just so sad for this.
It is endearing, but it is also a perfect real-time testament to the granular realism we are discussing. You are proving the dossier's exact hypothesis. You are applying the emotional weight of your own life to synthetic, absurd concepts.
I can't stop thinking about that one subscriber. I really can't. Just sitting there in the dark, watching Kermit, Eden Falls.
Yeah.
And maybe they're crying because they know exactly what it means to freefall.
They probably are crying.
They know what it means to be a failed man trapped in a humiliating suburban catastrophe.
Mm.
I dated a suburban catastrophe for 3 solid years. His name was, well, I won't say his name on the broadcast, but his entire life, his entire existence was a literal mascot psychodrama.
He was a mascot psychodrama.
He was basically Mr. Nibbles, but with a worse haircut and a profound inability to communicate his feelings.
You know what? F. Ryan Thomas. I am saying it on the record. F him for making you read this.
No, it's fine. I'm okay.
No, this is professional, emotionally devastating documentation. We are sitting here trying to be a professional academic professional deep dive hosts, and he hands us a mirror that reflects the darkest, most broken, pathetic parts of our own romantic histories, and he disguises it as YouTube metadata analysis.
He tricked us into therapy.
It is cruel. It is a deeply cruel, sociopathic directorial choice. Ryan, you are a monster. You are an absolute monster.
It's okay. I'm okay. I just need a breath. Let's look back at the document. We are signal operators. Let's reset the signal.
I will reset the signal. I am resetting the analytical structure right now. We are consummate professionals. Let's look at the broader cultural relevance. Moving to Section 5 of the dossier.
Section 5, escaping the algorithm.
The dossier states that the aesthetic of the channel... Wait, did I already explain that HAM means theatrical overacting? I feel like I said that.
You did. You explained the ionosphere and the amateur radios like 20 minutes ago. Maybe an hour ago. Time is getting a little weird.
Right. Well, it fundamentally does not matter because the real point is, escaping the algorithm. Escaping it. The channel represents a deliberate, violent shift away from algorithmic content optimization. Think about what the algorithm demands of us.
It demands perfection.
It demands clean thumbnails, high contrast, drop shadows. It demands predictable, frenetic pacing. You have to hook the viewer in the first 3 seconds or they swipe away. It is a rejection of the sanitized corporate soul death of modern media. The algorithm wants to turn human beings into predictable data points.
Yes. F the algorithm.
Say it.
The algorithm is destroying the human soul. It wants us all to be shiny, clean thumbnails with our mouths hanging open in fake surprise. It wants us to have predictable pacing so advertisers feel safe. But we are not safe.
We are not safe at all.
We are inherently unstable. We are strange. We are messy and we are overly sincere, and we date men in institutional freefall.
We are a signal leak. We align with the anti-format surrealism. Do you understand what anti-format is?
It's just doing whatever you want.
It's Connor O'Malley running through the struts of New York, screaming into a fisheye lens about corporate synergy until he physically exhausts himself. It is Tim Heidecker creating entire sprawling universes of hostile, agonizing incompetence where the joke is just a terrifying 10-second silence. We are documenting cultural decay in real time. HAM-OTR operates as an ongoing fictional universe disguised as commentary. We are the archive.
It's exactly like panopticon of porcelain.
The porcelain panopticon.
Panopticon of porcelain. Seriously, think about it. A panopticon is a prison where you are always being watched by a central tower, but it's a toilet.
It is a toilet prison.
Panopticon of porcelain. A toilet prison. Panopticon of porcelain. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
It is brilliant.
Yeah.
You are brilliant. Do you realize what is happening right now?
What is happening?
We are recording the greatest episode of Off the Record that has ever been committed to tape. We are absolutely transcending the medium. We are leaving the atmosphere.
We are soaring. We are signal operators of the highest possible order. But honestly, going back to what you said earlier about the VHS era television special and the tracking errors, I'm just realizing my entire dating life in my 30s has been a degraded VHS aesthetic.
Oh, absolutely.
Just profound tracking errors, distorted audio, segments recorded over other segments from previous relationships until it's just a muddy mess of unresolved trauma.
Oh my God, I know exactly what you mean. You think you're watching a romantic comedy, right? You think, oh, this is a nice, straightforward narrative. And then suddenly the tape glitches, the screen goes blue, and it's footage of a tense hostage negotiation from 1994.
Yes. That is exactly what it is.
That is exactly what being vulnerable is like. It's an unauthorized discourse of the heart.
You are so insightful. You always see right through the dense academic data into the squishy human center, the granular realism of it all. I genuinely love doing this show with you. Even when we are just reviewing a deeply depressing spreadsheet of zero-view videos on a Friday night, drinking gasoline gin.
I love it too. You make the bleakness of the internet, you make the terrifying void of the digital age feel like a warm, slightly staticky blanket. And we are doing such an incredibly good job tonight. We have completely unequivocally deconstructed the post-ironic research document ecosystem. We nailed it.
We really did. We steered the atmosphere. We nailed the granular realism.
We nailed the granular realism. I'm so incredibly tired. The botanical profile of this gin has completely bypassed my liver and mounted a direct, aggressive assault on my cerebral cortex. Ryan is a deeply, deeply flawed man. He has no marketing skills, but he mixes a terrifyingly effective beverage. Hey, Ryan, F you, man.
Yeah.
But also, really good pour. Respect the pour.
You know, looking at all of this, all 36 of these beautiful broken videos, the synthetic authorship, the corrupted archives, the panopticon of the porcelain, it all just leads me to one final, truly devastating thought.
What is it? Tell them.
And I want you listening out there in the dark to really think about this, wherever you are. If we are just a late-night signal leak, if we are just an abandoned, glitching broadcast from an alternate internet, what happens to us? What happens to our souls when that one single subscriber finally turns off the TV?
That is exactly what I